opportunities. We want to keep this thing rolling, and I'm really excited about this next expert that's coming up. Again, the books that are on your table here, they're telling his story. I got to spend a few minutes with him at dinner last night. Fascinating gentleman, clearly an expert in his craft, and he's going to talk today about funding and making money. I'm pretty sure we're all interested in that one. Just bring to the table, Reed Goossens.
Hello. Hello, everyone at home. How are you? Welcome. How good is it to be back in person after COVID? It's great to see everyone's faces and get to interact, because I know the last 18 months have been pretty difficult. Again, hello, everyone at home. I can see you on the screen here. This is my first time doing this, a major Zoom call. So, so my name is Reed Goossens. Actually, where's the clicker? I need the clicker. Otherwise, here it is right there. Let's see if this works. There we go. So, g'day. Clearly, I'm not from this country. My West Texas accent is not here, but you all have a copy of my book on your table, and it's actually a combination of me and 6 other incredible Australians who all made the pilgrimage across the ditch, and we've started real estate investment companies here, and it's just our little perspective on the market and how we've created that. In this book is what I'm going to be talking about today. I've only been given 30 minutes. I think they said 20 minutes, but I'm just going to steal the extra time because I need to. But I usually give this presentation over 8 hours, so I'm going to jam a lot into today. So who am I? So again, I moved to the United States in 2012, and I moved here to chase 2 things: the love for New York City and a girl. It all worked out. She's now my wife, so it's all happy ending. But I moved here really just to be an expat. I moved here as a structural engineer. I had no job. I needed to get a visa. I didn't know anyone and had very limited funds. But through a passion for real estate, I started investing in real estate. And today I control over $450 million of multifamily real estate. I have a podcast, I have 2 books. But I'm also an all-around good bloke. I'm a down-to-earth. I don't tell you that story to boast. I tell you that story to inspire. Because if I can move halfway across the world and achieve what I've done with obstacles in place, then so can you. And so hopefully today we're going to talk a little bit about a formula that I have created. And so when I first got started, I bought this property for $38,000 in upstate New York. It was a triplex. And I was a fresh-faced, bushy-eyed tail Australian who had no idea what Section 8 housing was. But I quickly learnt about Section 8 housing, 13% cap rate, thought these numbers are incredible, but subsequently had a drive-by shooting, and we learned pretty quickly about Section 8 housing. But here's the thing. I didn't get to the deals that I'm doing today without doing that first deal. So the power of that first deal is super important to get you off the starting blocks. I flipped a house in Philadelphia, and I did my first syndication in 2015 as a co-sponsor. And today I have over 3,000 units in the portfolio. So what we're going to cover today, so we're going to get straight into it. We're going to cover real estate, some basic stuff. So real estate syndication. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we need capital to grow. And then I'm going to get into my rule that I've created called the 6P rule, the art and science of raising capital like a pro. And I'm going to talk about how you go and develop your brand to become a key person of influence. I want you to remember that. KPI, key person of influence. I'm going to talk to you about how you go out and find and build your database and how you can then scale your real estate business. And I'm going to give you some tools at the end so you guys can be successful, because at the end of the day, there's no BS here. I'm all about sharing the knowledge. And again, all that I'm teaching today is in the book. And if you have any questions, please come up at the end. I'm more than happy to answer them. So disclaimer, we can skip that. So who doesn't know what a syndication is here? Put your hand up. Literally everyone knows. That's fantastic. I can just skip this. We'll go straight to the end. But I'll quickly talk a little bit about it. When I first got started, I didn't know what syndication was. I didn't know that I could go out and raise money from other people, right? But I quickly learned that the reason you get involved in a syndication is because of the power of other people's money, right? We're all here because we're not just sitting on a mountain of cash. Think about like Mark Zuckerberg when he was sitting in his Harvard dormitory with his hoodie on about developing Facebook. He just wasn't sitting on a pile of cash to go out and start Facebook. He needed to go and pitch ideas well. And that's what I'm going to talk about here in the 6P rule. And the reason that we do that is because we want ultimate leverage, right? We are all business owners at the end of the day, and we have an idea, but we need to go find capital and bring it together to form the ultimate leverage opportunity. And that's what we're going to talk about in the 6P rule, and why we're all here founding our businesses on the basis of raising money from other people. So if I gave you access to capital, how many people would be able to go out and do more deals today? How many people would be able to go out and live the life of their dreams? Because they're doing more deals. Well, that's exactly right. Access to capital means access to more deals, means to be able to scale your business. I today need more capital. I'm seeing deals all the time. I don't have enough capital to go out and do the deals that I want to do. Vikram and Ravi, the same thing. Todd, the same thing. Peely and sorry, Jason, I forgot you. Sorry, mate. We saw you at the gym this morning. It's early start. But the access to capital is so important to scaling your business, because if you don't have access to capital, you can't then go out and do that first deal. I was talking to someone earlier about the chicken and the egg scenario. What do? Get a deal under contract and then I go raise money? And that's the hard part. But what we're going to talk about today is about how you go and lay the foundation to form a business to then go off and ask that question of your investors to say, hey, would you want to invest with me? So let's get into it. When I first got started, I had to change my mindset. And Peely and Jason talked a lot about this today, about how you go out and approach real estate investors. Now, when I first got started, I remember doing those first couple of deals. I did a flip in Philadelphia, and I was getting to the end of my tether. I knew I wasn't going to be able to go and do more deals and get out of my day job. And someone started talking to me about other people's money. But I didn't have the confidence to go out and ask people for their money. I was very limited in my beliefs. And what I had to change was the way I thought. There is a lot of money out there in the world that wants to invest with you, and you're worth investing in. And we're going to talk about what those things are. But it starts with changing your mindset. And for me, I was in exactly the same position as you are today. I was sitting at conferences going, what are they talking about other people's money? How do I go access it? How do I go ask people to start investing with me? Well, it does, as cliche it sounds, it does start with changing your mindset and knowing that you're worth it. You're worth being to invest in. Because if you don't change your mindset, you're going to have the same old thinking equaling the same old results, and you won't get anywhere. And I'm standing here as proof today, again, moving halfway across the world, just to be a structural engineer in this country. And I was going to move home after a couple of years, and like nearly 10 years later, I'm up on stage talking about the power of syndication. So let's get into what we're going to do. So the questions I get asked constantly: how do I start raising capital? Who has these questions up on the board right now? How do I build credibility quickly? How do I stand out? There's so many other people online raising capital right now. There's so many other people, Facebook and Instagram, and oh my God, it's so much. And then how do I scale that? Well, again, this formula that I've created over the years, I've observed other people doing the exact same thing in their business. And here's the beauty of this. This 6P rule does not just apply for real estate. It can apply in any business you want to be or you want to create. So I've created the 6P rule. It's 6 simple steps: professionalism, pitch, practice, profile, platform, and the last one is patience. Everyone doesn't like the last one, but it does matter. And so I created this 6P rule by observing other people and how they go about developing a business, how they go about developing credibility in their industry. I go about how they go about asking people for money to invest in their business. So the first thing, professionalism. We all have it. Who here thinks that they're not standing on a mountain of value? Everyone. So everyone must think that they're standing on a mountain of value. That's good. Because you are standing on a mountain of value. You are a brand, you are a business. And when you go and ask someone for that capital, they're going to invest in you first and foremost. They're not going to invest in the deal. The deal does matter, but it's you. They've got to trust you. So you are the brand, you are the key person of influence, and you are standing on a mountain of value because you need to be a key person of influence in your sphere. If I came to your house with your friends and your family, they don't know who I am, right? They know who you are because they've already trust and like you. So start there. But you have to understand that you are all standing on a mountain of value today. And professionalism is where we start. Because guess what? None of us are born with 10 years worth of real estate experience. We all start somewhere. For me, I had a structural engineering background. I had a story to tell that was important, that was intriguing. And you all have a story to tell as well. And it's about teasing that story out and then communicating that with other people, because that's what builds rapport. That's what builds vulnerability. And that's what builds trust. And it's through understanding that you are standing on a mountain of value that you can give that to other people. You might be sitting there today going, I'm not a structural engineer, or I don't have a skill set. We all have a skill set in terms of being professional. It doesn't cost you anything to rock up and be punctual. It doesn't cost you anything to dress well. It doesn't cost you anything to be polite. These things start any single business. And again, we're not all born with just a ton of experience from day one. It's about building that and using your story, using your background to go off and use that as a launching pad to get this first P done. If we had more time, I'd go through a Gantt chart, but it starts with understanding your values, your mission, your why statement. I want you to take a picture of that and go home tonight and do it. Do these. Why would you be relevant in your business? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to attract capital? Well, the reason you want to do that is because we want to tease out this story. My story of moving halfway across the world is my story and unique to me. But you also have a story, and it is unique to you. And people are going to resonate with that. And through that resonation, they're going to be able to come to you and say, I want to do business with you because I love what you stand for, I love your values, and I love your mission. Exactly like Jason and Peely have a brand around being a great husband and wife team. About Viking Capital, they have a story about being doctors and transitioning into multifamily real estate. We all have a story. You just have to understand how to tease it out and then project it to the world, because that is going to form the basis of how you're going to go start raising capital. So it's P number 2, pitching perfectly. And these are I'm going to give you tools today that you can go out after this and actually apply it in everyday life, in a social setting. So pitching perfectly, we're going to talk about 3 different types of pitches: a social pitch, talk about a scheduled pitch, and we're going to talk about a sales pitch. One does not happen without the one previous to it. You cannot have a scheduled pitch without a social pitch, and you can't have a sales pitch without a scheduled pitch. It all starts with the top one. So everyone knows who this gentleman is. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. He had to pitch his dream and his speech hundreds of thousands of times across the Deep South before he ended up on the Washington Monument. And he had a really emotive speech. And with your pitching, you have to do the same thing. And I've created a formula around that. And so when you're pitching to someone, it's not about the first pitch. It's about the 1,000th pitch, because you need to say it over and over and over again. And for when you're pitching, you also don't want to be pitching to have polite responses. You want it to be evoking emotion, like Martin Luther King did. Obviously, we're not having a civil movement in our pitching, but we want to have that same sort of mindset, that we want to encourage people to be involved in what we do. And so a good pitch isn't someone who doesn't walk away from a good pitch and think, that was a good pitch. They walk away from it saying that was a great conversation, because it is a conversation starter. And here's the formula on the bottom, and I'm going to walk you through it right now. And you can go out and do this after my presentation. So the formula is name, same, claim to fame, goal, and a game. So let's walk through this right now. My name is Reed Goosens, right? When I'm pitching someone, the next one, same, they don't want to be, the person receiving it doesn't want to be standing there for 5 minutes going, what do you do? So the same is, I'm a real estate investor. Instantly they'll be able to know, I can put you in a box as the receiver, I can put you in a real estate box. Or Vikram used to be a doctor. I'm a doctor. Oh, great, you're a doctor, and we'll put you in that box. So when you're pitching to someone, you need to create that rapport really quickly. And this brings us to the third thing, the claim to fame. And claim to fame is really, really important, but it doesn't have to be real estate related. My claim to fame is that I moved halfway across the world to chase a girl, right? So my name is Reed Goosens. I'm a real estate investor. My claim to fame is I moved halfway across the world to chase a girl. My goal, right, and this is where people want to play a big role. They like being pitched big ideas. My goal is that I want to help 1,000 people achieve financial freedom through the game of multifamily investing. Boom. In 30 seconds, I've been able to get in that and communicate my pitch effectively to someone, and I get to do it over and over again. So I want you guys to go away today and talk about, be able to do this. What's your name? Obviously, you should know your name. What's the same? What's your claim to fame? And again, it doesn't have to be real estate related. I had a client of mine who was a used car salesman. He sold over 1,000 used BMW cars. It's an interesting topic that can start a conversation, because it is all about a conversation starter. It's not about a good pitch. And then the last thing about the goal, what goal do you want to play? What are you here to do? And that goes back to your mission and your value. And then what game are you playing in terms of reaching that mission and value in life? So those are the 3 steps. That's the formula. Name, same, claim to fame, goal, and a game. How to pitch effectively. Practice. This comes into the scheduled pitch. So we're talking about those 3 different types of pitches. You can't get to a scheduled pitch without going through your social pitch. So after this event, you can go out into the lobby and you can practice your social pitch. You can practice it over and over and over again. Now, not everyone's going to say, hey man, let's go for coffee, but that's what the ultimate goal is. You want to tell as many people as what you do with that last formula that I just told you about, and you want to get in front of as many investors as possible and pitch a big game. And this is where the scheduled pitch comes in, because when someone is intrigued by your story, right? Going back to standing on a mountain of value, because we're teasing out your story through your claim to fame, they're going to say, hey, I really like what you do. Let's get out the calendars. Let's put something on the calendar for next week and let's have a scheduled pitch. And that's what you need to be doing in terms of practice. And I remember when I first got started in raising capital, I was a co-GP for a gentleman. I was going to raise $500,000. And I had 50 investors on my small email list at the time. And I remember pitching all 50 of them of a live deal, and only 3 of them wanted to have a scheduled pitch with me, which is to sit down and go through the deal. Only 1 of them ended up investing. And what it means is that you constantly need to be developing your tools when you're investing when you're trying to pitch people. And this comes down to some very, very simple tools. One is called a credibility book. I saw someone's credibility book actually in this room today. Who has a credibility book when they're pitching investors? The guys who pitched to us last night had a credibility book. They'll get handing out flyers. That's a credibility booklet. Giving me a flyer instead of telling me something, I'm automatically, subconsciously going to go, this guy's taking it seriously, and he's taken down his ideas and put it onto a piece of paper. Now, it could just be a sample deal in the beginning because you may not have an active deal ready to raise for, but it's still very, very important tools that you need to be bringing to your scheduled pitch time in again and again and again. Because again, it's not about that first pitch that's going to change someone's mind. It's about the 1,000th pitch. And the last one I should also say, be specific on your investment strategy. Obviously, if you're investing in Facebook, it's a different investment strategy than you're investing in multifamily. I think that's really, really important. Some people oversee that. Because at the end of the day, you need to tell people 10 times. Someone was up here just before talking about how they had to tell someone about the fact that they're not a doctor anymore. Well, I was a civil engineer. I had to tell people over and over again, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate, I'm in real estate. And that pitch that I talked about at the beginning, the social pitch, will help you start to change people's mindset of what you do. Because you are less known than what you think, and that's why you have to be a key person of influence in your sphere. You want your friends and your family to go, I know you're in real estate, and I'm going to send all my people that want to be in real estate to you. And at the end of the day, you always need to be raising capital. So, profile. Well, what's going to happen after you sit down for a scheduled pitch? People are going to want to Google you, right? And it's really, really important to have a profile online. If you're raising money, they're going to want to see who you are. So having a website, having a professional headshot, social media, what are you doing online to go back to promoting your vision, your values, and why people want to invest with you, i.e. your story? That's really, really important. And this comes down to your profile. So hands up who does not have a website or has a mediocre online presence right now. Oh, wow, everyone's a social media king here. I can see a couple of hands over there. Okay, but you have to be building this consistently because it's all about the next one I'm going to talk about, which is a platform with profile. So these are just a couple examples of where you can go get started. Very, very basic. If you don't know where to start, I remember starting my first website on Wix.com. There's 99 designs for logos. Professional headshots are pretty easy to get. Business cards as well. But this helps then going into, well, how once I've found out what my story is and what my mission and value is, how do I go promote it across a platform? Where will people look to me as to try and increase my key person of influence status in their sphere? What platform do I want to go use? Well, we all start with a website. A website's a basic thing. It's a basic platform. After we go from a scheduled pitch, they're going to go and Google you, and you should have a website, right? But there's so many other platforms. Today that I'm standing on this literally as platform is Viking Capital's platform, right? Now, Viking Capital didn't start with a conference, but they built up to it. So you can start with a website. You can start with some blogs. You can start with a monthly newsletter. You maybe want to then progress into podcasting or doing books or creating a thought leadership platform around what you do. Now, all these things take time. They don't happen overnight. And again, I'm an example of doing these things, but I started with a basic website. I started with writing some basic articles so people could understand how I think about a certain topic, going back to my mission and my value, and the fact that I'm standing on a mountain of value and I've got something to give through my story. And it's really important, again, back to the story, back to that Gantt chart we were talking about earlier. If people don't know why you're here or what you do, it's going to be very hard to ask them for capital when you do have a live deal. Because the importance of having a platform are digital assets. Digital assets are because we live in the Google age. They want to see what you do and how you think. So developing your digital assets means it's evergreen content that's going to be out there forever. When I write an article about how I think about multifamily, it might change slightly over the years, but ultimately I'm going to be able to portray my mission and my values to people who come to my website. You need to be a thought leader, and you obviously need to be improving your key person of influence status across many, many platforms. We obviously know who this lady is, Oprah Winfrey. If you don't know her story, she has an incredible story too, but she created her platforms through her story. She's been able to create her network through her story of helping other people, then's gone on to create other platforms like a magazine and books. These are all platforms and examples of platforms to be able to go and propel your message across the world. Coincidentally, she's also a massive real estate investor, so that's pretty awesome as well. So where do you start? Well, where do I start with the platform? You've got to start with what you're good at. And what you're good at, for me, like, I remember when I started, I was like, I don't like writing. I hate it. I was in remedial reading class growing up. My parents cursed me by calling me Reed. But the fact is, I liked speaking a lot more than I liked writing. But I still had to commit to something. And if you're going to commit to something, choose what you're good at. So again, it could be a simple monthly newsletter. If you're going to do it, commit to it, and commit to it for a minimum of 3 years. If it's going to be a podcast, commit to it for a minimum of 3 years. If it's going to be a blog, a monthly blog, commit to it for 3 years. Whatever you do, whatever platform you go and commit to, you have to commit to it, because consistency is key, and that's how people are going to get to know you. That's how people are going to be able to build, look at you as a key person of influence in your sphere. Now, you don't have to go be Oprah Winfrey, but you can still have 500 raving fans that all want to invest in your deals, and that's the important part. These are some examples of just some monthly newsletters. If you don't have a monthly newsletter, it's important to get a monthly newsletter out to be touching your investors all the time. And these are some examples of my digital assets that I've created over the years. Now, if you can see in the top right-hand corner, it actually used to be called the 4P rule. I changed it to 6 Ps. I added 2 extra Ps. But I'm using other big platforms like YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, SoundCloud to promote what I've done. Here's the benefit of having a podcast. It helped me write my first book called Investing in the US. I was able to take the content from that podcast into writing a book. I was able to take that book and write a second book. And it's all about perpetual motion of the content you're creating. And it started with a basic website and basic blogs and basic articles and a basic newsletter. 9 years later, it's all this stuff. It doesn't have to happen overnight, but it will happen. Like Vikram and Ravi, they started out with a website, now they've got a conference. There's two ends of the spectrum, and it's about how you build that up over time. And the last one is patience. It's patience, my friends. It's about understanding that it starts with you are a key person of influence. You are a brand. You need to understand what your mission, your values are, so you can go out and pitch them. Through my formulas of pitching perfectly, name, saying, claim to fame, goal, and again, you can start doing a social pitch. By doing a social pitch, it leads you into a scheduled pitch. You can now able to use tools like a credibility checkbook to sit down with investors. Through that, you'll be able to go to a sales pitch of actually having a live deal. And then from that, we can talk about building platforms and websites and all that sort of stuff, because you understand what your story is and you want to use a megaphone to spread it to the world. But what I want you to do, I want to challenge you to do more networking, because credibility does take time, and you need to not give up. And if you commit to 3 to 4 years of building out your brand, you will be able to raise more money more effectively and quicker when a deal comes to fruition. Again, the last exercise I want you to walk away with is what networking events are you going to go to? I encourage you to go to 3 to 4 networking events a month. I encourage you to meet up and practice your scheduled pitch with at least 5 to 10 investors a month. I'm going to keep harping on you. And I bet you at the end of 6 months, by doing all that and practicing your social pitch, practicing your scheduled pitch, you'll be able to get to a point where you can ask someone for capital because you'll be in a sales pitch. And that's the most important part. My resources, reedgoosens.com. Reach out to me there. You can check out my podcast, Investing the US. I've got 2 books. And yeah, questions? You actually now, and congratulations, you are a fully fledged trained 6P syndicator. So well done. My name is Reed Goosens. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.